So I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about change. Not the kind of change you find in the cushions of your couch, although I'm sure that would make for a fantastic video. Maybe we'll save it for next time. But the scary kind of change, when something goes from being one way to suddenly becoming a little bit different. There were two things in particular that got me thinking about this over the course of the last week. One is the whole YouTube Red thing, which I'm sure most of you are aware of at this point. It's YouTube's new optional $10 monthly subscription service that does a whole bunch of things. We can get into that. But then the other thing was the series that I posted this past weekend, the roleplay series that I started with Waglington, and those two things kind of got me thinking about the concept of change in seeing what people's reaction is to them. Now, when things change, especially on the internet, lots of people freak out. And the interesting part about it is whether the change is for better, whether the change is for worse, oftentimes a lot of the folks reacting to it are simply reacting to the fact that there has been a change. It's simply the concept of change that gets people really riled up and worried, and it's not necessarily the specific points of what has changed. And even I have been guilty of this myself, like, oh, what's this? Something, it's different? I don't like, I've been used to this one thing before and now it's different and I don't know how to handle this, without really specifically analyzing what it is exactly that's happened. And so with YouTube Red, for example, obviously YouTube being what has always been a free service, suddenly introducing this paid option, a lot of people say, this is crazy, this is different, I don't like it. It's because it's different. It's, oh God. Now, over the years, I've tried to get better at reserving judgment until I'm sure I have most all of the facts, because oftentimes what happens is you'll look back on something you said when you had incomplete information, you'll be like, ooh, I said that publicly and it was kind of wrong and not completely accurate, and now I look a little bit silly. Whoops. And so I've tried to learn from my own mistakes, because I have done that before. And so especially when it comes to something like YouTube Red, which oftentimes, as someone who's a video creator, and because I follow lots of video creators, that's who I hear speaking about it. And a lot of the discussion was financial based. And so I'm like, before I do anything commentary that is financial based, I better make sure that I know everything. And so immediately when it was announced, I saw lots of folks like, wait a minute, so people who are going to be paying this $10 monthly subscription rate, like, we're just not going to get any cut of it. And so initially I saw a few people freaking out about that, and then it was like, no, YouTube is still going to be paying the exact same 55% to the creators of that. And then you had people who were like, wait, but that's not going to end up being as much as my ad revenue was going to be. What's this going to get? It's crazy and ridiculous. And it's like, no, but actually, generally, like 99.9% of the time, anytime you can get someone to pay a monthly subscription fee for something, it's going to translate into way more than they could possibly generate by watching advertisements. So it's like, oh wait, so each of these people who do subscribe to YouTube Red is going to actually end up putting more in my pocket? Oh, whoopsie-daisies. And then after that, it was like, no, but there's this whole free trial thing, and so in November, while this free trial is going on, I'm not going to make any money because everyone on the site's going to be signed up for this trial and I'm not going to get anything. And then it was like, well, not exactly. That's not true either, because some of the existing Google Music subscriber revenue is going to go to YouTubers. And also there's simply the fact that whenever you introduce a field where someone has to put in a credit card for something, it's always going to defer a huge amount of people. They're not going to want to put in a credit card, because even for a free trial, you have to put in the credit card so that it auto renews, and people don't like that, so they don't do it. So it was like, of all the people in the United States, maybe you get like, I don't know, 10% maximum probably signing up for that trial because they have to input a credit card. So your revenue is going to go down by maximum like a few percent in November, probably. I don't know for sure, but like, it's not going to make a huge significant dent. And generally, if you do really well on YouTube, like, it's never a good idea to complain publicly about your income. It's just not a good idea, because people who watch you as well, like, they have their own problems they have to deal with. They don't want to hear you talking about that. And so I was like, man, this change has got people freaking out. And over something that's really probably just gonna benefit them financially, which is the very thing that so many people are concerned about. There were a couple valid points. There was like, hey, if you don't accept the new terms of service, because YouTube Red requires new terms of service on YouTube, then all your video library will be privated. Now, for most people, if it's an active channel, it's not a problem. You're fine. If you're with a network, the network accepts the terms for you, and you're good to go. The only issue is if you're an independent channel, not signed onto an MCN, if you're an inactive channel, or if it was a YouTuber who was deceased, that's a valid issue. That's a valid issue. If it's someone who no longer has access to change settings on an account, then that creates a problem. That's an issue, and I hope that there is a way to solve it, because I don't know for sure how to get around that if someone doesn't have access to an account anymore, how to keep that video library there and accept the terms of service. So I was like, no, fair point on that. But the rest was like, let's take a step back, let's take a breather. And instead of, I feel like the issue was a lot of the people who might have made the comments could go back and be like, no, it's actually not that big of a deal. But it was, again, the idea of something changing that caused this immediate impulsive reaction, where maybe after waiting a few days and collecting all the information, it would have been like, oh, no, we're cool. And so but again, it's not something that it happens every time that there is change. And I'm not commenting saying, oh, it shouldn't happen, because it always will. That's just part of how human nature works, I suppose. But still, I felt it was worth discussing. And then again, I had mentioned the whole thing about like the series that I posted this last week and the end of Minecraft that I posted with Waglington, and I knew there would be some comments like, hey, this roleplay thing, I don't like it, is whatever, not interested in it. But you had some people who I think simply, even before watching it, reacted to it simply having the word roleplay in the title of the video. It wasn't based upon the content, it was simply based upon a word in the title, which therefore caused them to rule it out without necessarily watching it. And so I did see some people who ended up giving it a chance. They were like, okay, it might say roleplay, but I'm still going to watch through, see if I like it. Who were like, okay, you know what? Actually, this did defy my expectations, and I ended up enjoying it. And you're always going to get people who don't like to watch something. And again, that's totally cool. If you don't enjoy watching something, don't watch it. Please. I wanted to try something different because, again, as I had mentioned, with the whole single-player solo modded Minecraft thing, I got to a point where I was like, I feel like I've done almost all there is to do, so I want to try something else that I haven't done before. Obviously, the roleplay thing has been done by other channels, but I wanted to try my own personal spin on it. And I'm not the best actor in the world. I don't think either of us are the best actors in the world, but I'm having fun doing it because it is something different. And again, a lot of people don't like the idea of change, but ultimately, in order to move forward, things do have to change every now and again, and a new series, I feel, is a good way to do that. You can watch it if you want. You don't have to watch it if you don't like it at all. But I merely wanted to comment on the idea that because it had a word in the title, you had people reacting to that before even checking out the video itself. And I found it interesting because, again, that's the same thing as, oh, wait, this is different. This is a new thing. This is a thing I've seen on other channels that I might not have been interested in, but because it has the word in the title, it's ruled out. I was like, okay, hey, that's totally cool. It's up to you, but if you treat everything like that, you may end up missing out on something you'll be interested in. So keeping an open mind is generally a good idea. And occasionally, some changes are for the worse. There have been many a change on YouTube that I have not agreed with personally, because oftentimes when YouTube makes a change that the goal is to increase the watch time across the site, but sometimes the steps taken to achieve that goal don't often positively impact every video creator out there. There are different impacts depending upon the type of video creator you are. Sometimes those changes don't have a positive impact, but ultimately YouTube has their goal of increasing the watch time site-wide, and it depends on the type of channel you are as to whether or not that helps you or hurts you, pretty much. And so again, change isn't always for the better, but when the reaction is to the change itself and not to what the actual change was and what the difference is, that's when, you know, sometimes you can misspeak or you can miss out on something that you might be interested in. So I guess that's all I wanted to talk about. I guess the moral of the story is simply to keep an open mind and try to collect the facts, pretty much. You do whatever you want, actually. I mean, I don't care. It is totally up to you, but that's just based upon my observations. So on that note, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and that's all for now. So I guess I will see you next time. Bye-bye.